Everything changed in a matter of seconds. Welcome to NFL Nexus and our War Room explainer on the 2026 Colts defense. For years, literally years, the undisputed, rock-solid anchor of this entire defensive unit was Zaire Franklin. He was the heartbeat. But this offseason, a seismic trade completely ended an era, and it left a glaring, massive void right in the dead center of the gridiron. We're talking about a move that completely reshapes the identity of a football team.
Okay, let's dive into this, because we're looking at a defensive landscape that was completely fractured and then had to be rebuilt in the blink of an eye. The dust finally settled, the trade was finalized, and a massive vacuum was just left behind. Today we are going to look at exactly how the Colts plan to rebuild this defense from the ground up, moving from the desperate, absolute trenches of the undrafted market all the way to the high-stakes gladiator warfare that's waiting on the perimeter. The 2026 season isn't just another year on the calendar, it is a crucible. Defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo is now staring down a massive hole in the absolute middle of his field, and you really have to understand Anarumo's system to grasp how terrifying that is. In his scheme, the middle linebacker isn't just a guy who makes tackles, they are the central nervous system of the entire defensive unit. Without Franklin, the Colts had almost nothing to write home about regarding starting experience. Sure, general manager Chris Ballard brought in Akeem Davis-Gaither in free agency. That gives them a baseline of Anarumo's system knowledge. But beyond that, literally nothing. There's no proven safety net, no seasoned veteran just waiting in the wings ready to take the reins. The Colts walked into the 2026 NFL Draft knowing, absolutely knowing, they had to find their future in a matter of days. The pressure inside that war room was absolute.
And that sheer desperation leads us directly to pick 53. The Colts draft linebacker C.J. Allen out of Georgia. But honestly, it isn't his tape that tells the most compelling story here. It's what happened the morning after his name was called. I want you to just imagine this scene for a second. It is 6:30 a.m., the morning after the biggest night of this kid's life. He just got drafted into the National Football League. Most rookies are out celebrating, sleeping in, just soaking up the monumental moment, not C.J. Allen. At exactly 6:30 a.m., he sends a text directly to defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo. And he didn't text to say, "Hey coach, thank you so much for the opportunity." No, he texted to demand the defensive playbook. He wanted to get to work immediately. This single, relentless act is a microcosm of exactly why the Colts targeted him in the first place. They didn't just draft a highly physical athlete. They drafted an absolute, undeniable obsession with the game of football.
Linebackers coach James Bettcher was completely blown away by this kid. Bettcher noted that when you actually sit down and watch Allen's tape at Georgia, he is always the first guy to communicate, he's the one making the complex coverage checks, he's the one physically sliding the defensive front. It is practically impossible to miss him as the vocal, undisputed leader on the field. Because of this relentless football intelligence, Allen is currently projected to be Lou Anarumo's green dot in his rookie season. And we need to just let that sink in for a second. The green dot. That is the player with the actual radio inside his helmet, the guy receiving the play calls directly from the coordinator and then relaying them to the rest of the defense in real time. If he earns this role, it will be the very first time Anarumo has ever handed that level of critical, game-deciding responsibility to a rookie. It is an astonishing, almost unheard-of level of trust placed on young shoulders. I mean, think about it. Most rookies are just trying to figure out where the team cafeteria is, and C.J. Allen might be out there running the entire defense.
But here's the thing. Allen isn't arriving alone. Enter fourth-round pick, 155th overall, Bryce Bettcher. Now, Coach Bettcher likes to joke around that Bryce is his nephew because of the shared last name. But let me tell you, when it comes to the gridiron, there is absolutely nothing funny about the way this kid plays the game. Bettcher describes his style as playing with his hair on fire, fast, violent, physical. Bryce is quite literally a heat-seeking missile on the field. You want proof of that? Look no further than the very first play of the Colts rookie minicamp. First snap. His very first taste of NFL action. What does Bettcher do? He completely blows up the play and forces a fumble. Boom. Just like that, he's immediately setting a tone of violence and sheer disruption. He's expected to compete incredibly heavily for the opening at the will linebacker spot, bringing not just raw, unbridled aggression, but significant special teams upside and a truly surprising ability to drop back into pass coverage when needed.
And this brilliantly illustrates the synergy between these two, which is exactly why the Colts are so confident throwing them both into the deep end together right out of the gate. Take C.J. Allen from Georgia over there on the left and Bryce Bettcher from Oregon on the right. If you just look at them on paper, they are on opposite sides of the country. But in defensive philosophy, they are absolute blood brothers. You see, the head coach at Oregon, Dan Lanning, came directly from Kirby Smart's staff at Georgia. These are the exact same coaching families utilizing the exact same complex defensive systems. Coach Botcher even noted that during film meetings, he will introduce what he thinks is a highly complex NFL concept, and Allen and Botcher will literally just look at each other and say, "Oh yeah, that was just this play from college." They already speak the exact same language. They are day one ready to play alongside each other, whether that's in the box, in the dime package, or out on the overhang. The foundation? It is already built right in.
But the draft just wasn't enough. The Colts front office knew they needed even more ammunition for the impending war. And that brings us to this absolutely staggering number right here, $286,500. Take a long moment to process that number. In the high-stakes, frantic post-draft frenzy of the undrafted free agent market, the UDFA market, teams are fighting tooth and nail. They are on the phones begging to secure the players who somehow slipped through the cracks of the 7 rounds. Now, standard UDFA contracts are for 3 years and roughly $3.1 million, but the true battleground, the place for teams actually win these bidding wars, is the guaranteed money. There is a strict hard cap of around $200,000 for total signing bonuses that a team can hand out across their entire UDFA class. But, and here is the massive loophole, there is absolutely no limit on salary guarantees. And the Colts, incredibly desperate to fortify their ranks, walked down to the vault and swung the doors wide open.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is breaking down the cold, hard data of how a front office throws immense financial weight around when they feel like they are backed into a corner. Take a look at the top row, linebacker West Weeks. He secured a massive $286,500 in total guarantees. That specific number includes a $39,000 signing bonus and a base salary guarantee of nearly $250,000. So why does this matter to us? Because that salary guarantee is roughly equal to what a rookie would make for an entire year toiling away on the practice squad. It is the ultimate security blanket for an undrafted player, and it absolutely proves that West Weeks had an incredibly competitive market. The Colts basically had to outbid half the league just to get him into their building. He, along with fellow undrafted linebacker Taj Chambers, are cut from that exact same obsessive cloth as Allen and Botcher. We're looking at a group of guys fighting for their professional lives, creating what is going to be a highly volatile, intensely competitive, and deeply, deeply hungry linebacker room. You also see the aggressive guarantees for safety Austin Brown and defensive lineman Cameron Ball. The Colts were taking absolutely no chances.
But while the rookies wage this desperate physical war for control over the middle of the field, the narrative scale shifts dramatically because on the outside, isolated miles away from the chaos and the mud of the trenches, an island awaits. We are talking about the perimeter, and we are talking about Sauce Gardner. Let's really remember the sheer scale of what actually brought him here to Indianapolis. The Colts paid a king's ransom at the 2025 trade deadline. They shipped away multiple highly coveted first-round picks to secure his elite services. The expectations in this city were sky high. But then, a nagging, persistent calf injury derailed absolutely everything. He somehow managed to start just 4 games down the painful stretch of last season. But now, heading into 2026, he is 100% fully healthy. He has spent an entire grueling offseason mastering the intricacies of Lou Anarumo's defensive scheme. The pressure sitting squarely on Sauce's shoulders to prove his immense trade value is astronomical. He is the undisputed CB1, and the storm that is coming for him on the schedule is unlike anything he has ever faced in his career.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because this right here isn't just a schedule. This is a terrifying gladiator-style gauntlet. The NFL schedule makers have lined up an absolute executioner's row for Sauce Gardner. Just look at this, a brutal divisional battle with Nico Collins in Week 3, an emotionally charged MPJ revenge game in Week 5, a daunting trip up to face Justin Jefferson in Week 7, Collins once again under the primetime lights on Thursday Night Football in Week 11, and the athletic phenom Malik Neighbors in Week 12. Let's actually break down exactly what Sauce is walking into, matchup by matchup.
Before we even get to the core of that gauntlet, Sauce has to face a massive demon from his past, Ja'Marr Chase. The quarterback-receiver duo of Joe Burrow and Chase can literally take over a football game in a single heartbeat. But what is truly fascinating about this matchup is the deep underlying history. First off, this is a massive, highly emotional game for defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo, facing the franchise where he spent his first 6 years building his reputation as a coordinator. But for Sauce and Chase, it's a rematch of their sole encounter back in 2022, back when Sauce was wearing a Jets uniform. In that specific game, Gardner put Chase in an absolute straitjacket. He completely suffocated him, holding the superstar to just 6 receptions for a measly 29 yards. Sure, Chase managed to scrape together a tiny 5-yard touchdown very late in the game, but let's be totally honest with ourselves. It was purely garbage time insurance. The game was over. Sauce completely dominated. And you better believe Ja'Marr Chase hasn't forgotten that humiliation. The tension for this specific one-on-one battle is already sitting at a boiling point.
Then we look at the upcoming showdown with the Philadelphia Eagles,
and the dynamic completely shifts gears. With A.J. Brown all but guaranteed to be playing elsewhere by the time the 2026 season kicks off, Devonta Smith finally steps out of the shadows to become the undisputed primary WR1 in Philly. And here is the fascinating catch to all of this. Sauce Gardner has never actually faced Devonta Smith in the NFL. Not once. They were supposed to clash back in October of 2023, but Sauce missed that game with a severe concussion. You literally have to go all the way back to their 2021 college days, back when Sauce was matching up against Smith's powerhouse Alabama Crimson Tide, just to find any sort of history between them. So for the very first time ever on a professional NFL field, these two incredibly elite technicians will finally lock horns in a pure, unadulterated one-on-one battle. It's going to be a masterclass in route running versus coverage.
But if you want to talk about genuine bad blood and some serious unfinished business, look no further than the Houston Texans and their star, Nico Collins. Last season, Collins absolutely humiliated the Colts secondary. He caught 5 of his 10 targets for 98 yards, and he even housed a 7-yard rushing touchdown just to rub salt in the wound. He had completely free reign over the field. But why did that happen? Because on the very second snap of that agonizing 2025 matchup, Sauce Gardner's calf completely tore. He was sidelined immediately, helpless, forced to watch from the bench as Collins systematically torched his teammates for 4 quarters. Their only full, healthy matchup was in late 2023, where Sauce completely erased Collins from the game plan, holding him to a single lonely catch for 13 yards. Now, the narrative flips. Both men are 100% healthy, they face off in Week 3, and then they have to do it all over again under the brutal, exhausting, high-definition lights of Week 11 Thursday Night Football. This isn't just football. This is absolute, unforgiving divisional warfare.
And then, lurking in Week 7, the ultimate measuring stick for any defensive back in this league, a trip to Minnesota to face Justin Jefferson. We are talking about a player with an unprecedented 6 consecutive 1,000-yard receiving seasons to start his illustrious career. He is arguably the absolute best pass catcher breathing oxygen on the planet right now. Sauce has faced him exactly twice. In his rookie year, Jefferson caught 7 passes for 45 yards and a touchdown. But in their most recent, highly publicized clash in 2024, Sauce dug his heels into the turf. He held Jefferson without a single touchdown and forced a sub-50% catch rate when targeted. However, Jefferson being Jefferson, he still managed to wrangle 92 receiving yards. It was a true heavyweight prize fight where both men landed absolutely devastating blows. In 2026, Game 3 of this intensely personal series will dictate exactly where Sauce Gardner stands in the global hierarchy of NFL cornerbacks.
So, the crucial point is, the storm simply does not break. There is no reprieve. There is no easy week on the calendar. By Week 12, the Colts will host Malik Nabers. Like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson before him, Nabers is yet another terrifying product rolling off that LSU wide receiver factory assembly line. He is returning from a truly gruesome ACL tear that ended his 2025 campaign prematurely, but by Week 12 he is projected to be fully healthy and firing on all cylinders. Remember, this is a kid who put up 1,204 yards and 7 touchdowns on 109 receptions as a mere rookie. He is pure explosive energy. And let's definitely not forget Week 5 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Michael Pittman Jr., a former beloved Colt, returning to Indy in a bitter, emotionally charged revenge game. Whether Pittman is lining up in the slot or out wide, any single rep where Sauce is the primary defender will be an absolute masterclass in raw physicality and spite. I'm telling you, there are 0 weeks off on this island.
So, look at the big picture we've painted here. You have a defensive mastermind in Lou Anarumo banking his entire complex scheme on rookies fresh out of college and undrafted free agents who are literally fighting for financial scraps in the middle of the field. And then, out on the perimeter, you have an all-pro cornerback returning from a devastating injury, and he's tasked with stopping a relentless, week-by-week onslaught of the most dangerous, lethal offensive weapons on the planet. The margin for error here, it is practically non-existent. The stakes for this franchise have absolutely never been higher. So the ultimate question isn't just whether they can win a few football games. The real question is, can this highly unproven, violently assembled core even survive the sheer crushing gravity of what the 2026 season is about to throw at them?
Well, we are about to find out, aren't we? If you want to follow every single snap, every schematic adjustment, and every bit of fallout from what promises to be a truly historic season, you absolutely need to be right here. Make sure you subscribe to NFL Nexus, like this explainer to boost it in the algorithm so we can keep making these, and dive down into the comments. I want to know your thoughts on this defensive war room strategy. Do they have what it takes? And hey, if you want to truly back the deep dive cinematic analysis we do here every week, support the channel by becoming a channel member today. The 2026 season is looming large. Stay ready.